The room was too cold. Not the air, the silence. I sat across from her at the long glass table, watching my reflection bend in the polished surface. 20 years of strategy, sleepless nights, and impossible deals stared back at me like a stranger. She didn't look up from her tablet. "I'll be brief," she said. "Your position is no longer required." Just like that. No preface. No appreciation. No explanation. I waited for something, anything, that would tell me this was a mistake. There was nothing. She slid a folder across the table. Termination papers. Exit checklist. Confidentiality reminder. My name already printed. My career reduced to ink. I looked at her then. Really looked. The new CEO. Young. Confident. Untouchable, she thought. Is this about performance? I asked calmly. She smiled. A thin, professional smile. This is about alignment. Alignment. The corporate word that means you know too much. Behind her, through the glass walls, I could see the other executives pretending not to watch. They all knew what this was. A purge. I signed nothing. I assume security will escort me out? I said. She finally looked up. Yes. That's when I stood, straightened my jacket, and said the words that would change everything. Just so you know, I designed the merger you're risking your career on. She blinked. Once. I walked out before she could respond. And as the door closed behind me, one truth burned clear. She had just fired the only person keeping a $3 billion deal alive. Security didn't rush me. They didn't have to. The walk from the boardroom to the elevator felt longer than the last 20 years combined. The hallway was lined with glass offices, each one holding people who pretended not to see me. But they saw. They always do. I carried nothing. No box. No papers. My entire professional life was stored in systems I had built myself. They could keep the furniture. The elevator doors opened slowly, like they were mocking me. As I stepped in, I caught a glimpse of her through the glass wall of the conference room. The CEO. Still standing. Still confident. Still unaware. The doors closed. The ride down was silent. My reflection stared back at me, calm on the outside, calculating on the inside. I wasn't angry. Anger is messy. This felt clean. When the doors opened in the lobby, security stopped walking. That was it. "Good luck," one of them said softly. I nodded and stepped into the sunlight. That's when my phone vibrated. A calendar reminder I had set years ago. Merger risk review. Final check. I smiled. They had just removed the one person who understood where the deal would break. And now it was time to let it break. I didn't drink that night. Didn't sleep either. I spread the documents across my kitchen table like a crime scene. Contracts, drafts, emails, risk assessments. 20 years of corporate memory in black and white. Then I opened the NDA. The one she had pushed across the table so quickly. Most people never read these. That's the first mistake. Page 12. Section 9B. My eyes stopped. Obligations apply only upon active employment until merger finalization. I read it again, slower. I had been fired before the merger closed. Legally, I was free, free to speak, free to answer questions, free to tell the truth. I leaned back in my chair and laughed for the first time in days, not because it was funny, but because it was perfect. They had rushed me out so fast they forgot the one detail that mattered. I closed the folder carefully. This wasn't revenge. This was compliance. And compliance was about to destroy a $3 billion lie. The call came 3 days later. Private number. I answered on the third ring. "Is this you?" the voice asked. Careful. Professional. Nervous. Yes. "This is Meridian Capital. We're reviewing the merger exposure. We were told you handled the risk framework." I smiled. I had waited for this. "Yes," I said calmly. "I did." A pause. "There are inconsistencies in the filings." "That's one way to put it," I replied. I didn't accuse. I didn't dramatize. I just told the truth. About the off-balance liabilities, the regulatory assumptions, the dependencies no one had stress-tested. Silence stretched. Why wasn't this disclosed? The banker finally asked. It was, I said, to me. And then I added the sentence that started the collapse. I was fired before I could correct it. The call ended 10 minutes later. By evening, the first emergency meeting was scheduled. The first domino had fallen, and I hadn't raised my voice once. They didn't invite me. They summoned me. That's the difference. The boardroom was full when I walked in. Lawyers on one side, executives on the other, fear sitting in every empty chair. The screen showed numbers moving too fast, emails piling up, timelines collapsing. She was there, the CEO who fired me. For the first time, she didn't look untouchable. She looked tired. We need clarity, the board chair said. Now. They started asking questions, fast, sharp, desperate. What were the risks? Why weren't they flagged? Who signed off? All eyes slowly turned to me. I spoke calmly, clearly, without emotion. I explained what I had warned about months ago, what had been ignored, what had been hidden under optimism and pressure. She tried to interrupt. I didn't stop. The room went quiet. One of the lawyers closed his laptop slowly. Another whispered something to the CFO. Someone swore under their breath. This merger cannot close, I said finally. Not legally, not safely. Silence fell like a verdict. And in that silence, I realized something powerful. They didn't fire me because I was wrong. They fired me because I was right. Leaks don't happen by accident. They happen when fear outruns loyalty. 2 days after the boardroom meeting, the first headline dropped. Sources question stability of $3 billion tech merger. By noon, the stock dipped. By evening, analysts were circling like sharks. I watched it all from my kitchen table, coffee untouched, phone silent. I hadn't said a word to the press. I didn't need to. Once doubt enters the market, it multiplies itself. The company's PR team released a statement, strong language, weak confidence. Then another. Each one contradicted the last. Employees whispered in elevators. Investors emailed at midnight. Regulators started asking questions no one wanted to answer. And still, the CEO said nothing publicly. Because she couldn't. Anything she said would confirm what I had already told the bank. The merger wasn't bleeding because of me. It was bleeding because it was never healthy to begin with. I had just stopped holding the wound closed. My